Shalom and good day, all. This is Healing29 back again for another indie comic review, and in this indie comic review I'll be covering Ancient Enemies, issue 5 by Dan Didio, and also Gargoyles, issue 8 by Weissman. I'll now get things organised for the first one that I'll be covering for the review. So the first one that I'll be covering will be Dan Didio's Ancient Enemies, issue 5 of 6. So, first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give a 7 out of 10. It's now time to move into the internal art around the beginning, middle and end, and also some of the things that are happening story-wise. So, as we begin to move into the beginning of the story, we have Morrigan Bonnie, and of course we have some members of the greater good that are there, that are taking on some jobs as well as some enemies. We jump a little bit further into the story and we have Rafe and her son, Tucker. And she's also indicating for her son to be careful in what they're actually doing here, which is really good. And I must admit, I think Dan Didio might actually be going a little bit soft on the idea of legacy characters, just with this alone. Does it mean it's permanent? I don't know. We'll soon find out. We move finally towards the end of the first story, but we also have a secondary story. But I have decided to include the secondary story as a part of the main story. And we get a series of events that take place here. And we get an event that sort of links to I think it's the first responder that has actually appeared within the story already. For the internal art, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move in to the next area, and that is the area of the story rating. First things first, did we get anything in relation time-wise? No, we didn't. Would not hurt to include it. Next is the location, to which we see events taking place in the South Pacific and also the Citadel. The cast of characters consisting of Morrigan Bunny, the first responder, the greater good. We have Rosemary Reed, Simon Love, Michael the Djinn, or the Genie. We also have Racer Girl, and last but not least, we have Racer and her son, or Rafe and her son, to which I give the story a rating of 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move into Gargoyles, issue 8. So, jumping into first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give a 7 out of 10. Next is the area of the internal art, to which we'll have a look around the beginning, middle and end, and also some of the things that are happening story-wise. So as the story begins, we end up encountering the characters Coldfire and Coldstone. And we end up catching up with Goliath. We don't see much of Demonica or Demona here within the story, which is really sad. It would be nice to see more of her. And all this is happening whilst Goliath has basically been taken captive. Until, last but not least, we move towards the end. For the internal art, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the story. First things first, did we get anything time relation-wise? Nothing at all. The location, nothing at all. And because of these two things, this story did actually lose quite a number of points. Next is the cast of characters. Again, I think it could have been a little bit better in covering the cast of characters, because the only cast of characters that we only got in this by name and being called out to each other were Coldfire and Coldstone. And last but not least, the character of Goliath, for the overall rating of a 6 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.